Okay, so I've got everything open now. Here's a piece of vinyl or nylon that you need to be sure keep out of the way as you're sewing. So here's my loop strip, and what I need to do is attach it to the front of my diaper. Now I've tried to sew it not attaching it, and it just seems to shift a little too much. So I'm going to go ahead and pin it on, and I know a lot of people who are going to gasp and think that that's terrible, but the theory being you're not really supposed to pin through PUL, and in fact, I mean, you're going to be sewing through it anyway, and the other reason why it doesn't bother me to pin through the PUL at this part of the diaper is that I've got this vinyl that's going to be covering it when I close the diaper up, so I feel pretty confident to be protected there from any leaks that might occur. So again, I've marked the middle of my loop strip, and I'm going to mark the middle up, the middle of the loop strip with the middle rise snap there. And so the only trick to this is to just be sure that you position the loop strip so that you're covering up the old sewing holes. That's really the only trick I use to position it on here. And then as you line up towards the sides, you just kind of want to, you know, generally see that the distance between the rise snap and the bottom of your loop strip is the same on all sides. So I'm just going to start pinning. I'll start the first pin in the middle. And again, just want to generally cover up those sewing holes. I'm not going to worry that it's 100% perfect at this point, as because as I go along and sew it, I'm still going to be finagling it to get the proper placement on here. So I like to put my pins horizontally here, right in the middle of the loop strip, and the reason I do that is because I like to keep the pins in as I sew. You know, normally you'd see pins going along on the edges and you take them out as you sew, but I like to keep them in place as it really helps to keep the loop strip from shifting around, because it can get really shifty. Alright, so as I place my work under my needle, I want to take this vinyl strip and peel it back as much as I can and put the work on the machine. And I like to start at the top in the middle. The reason why I like to do that is because it's easier to sew up here at the top, so I can get myself started and get the loop strip sort of tacked down. But at the same time, this leaves me the back area free in case I need to maneuver or shift around this loop strip as I get to that part. For those of you that aren't familiar with sewing with hook and loop tape, I just want to point out that, and you'll see it on your old diaper, that there's a flat piece of the tape and then the fuzzy part starts, and so where you want to sew it is pretty much where the fuzzy part starts. And just also want to say that I usually sew with 10 stitches per inch. Again, using 100% polyester thread and a ballpoint needle. Okay, I'm not sure if you can see this, but you know, here's the diaper kind of flat out. What I need to do is sort of turn it inside out a little bit. So I tuck this corner in. And what that does is it gets this vinyl away from the corner as much as possible. This is where it starts to get a little tight. So don't worry if you get the vinyl caught. I've done that before. And I just take it out and redo the area. It's not the end of the world. It's not the best thing to do, but again, all the while trying to, make sure that I've got everything, all the old sewing holes still covered by the loop strip. So as I turn it again, I make sure that this vinyl is out of the way. And I also try to straighten everything out back here so that I can make one nice line as I go along. Alright, shall we see if I sewed any of the vinyl on here? And yay! I did not. Good for me. I was hesitating there towards this one corner because I was thinking I was starting to put it on a little crooked. And it is. But it's for me, so I'm not going to worry about it. Alright, now I got to close the front back up, and this can be a little detail oriented. So what you want to do is, you'll see a nice crease where the front bits fold in. So what I like to do is pin them together, because you want these edges to align properly so that you can go ahead and top stitch pretty much where the existing top stitching is. So I guess the trick to this is you don't want to stretch either the top or the bottom too much, because you'll get some kind of weird fold at the end where one of the, either the front or the back is going to have a little extra fabric. So I just kind of like to start at the beginning. Again, don't stretch anything, but just fold them on the crease and then line them up so that the edges are really close together, so one's not in front of the other or vice versa. Alright, so here I've pinned everything, and I'm going to straight stitch closed this seam, trying to go over where you can see where their top stitching was. You'll still see the sewing hole, so you can position your needle as far right as it'll go so that you can have a good amount of fabric underneath your sewing foot. I don't know, my sewing machine is so finicky that I can't really do that. I get all sorts of knotted thread. I don't know. But anyway, so there's just one tip, is to move your needle as far to the right, and go ahead and do straight stitch. Again, I do 10 stitches per inch. Lining up everything. Oh, see, there we go. Okay. Alright, so as you go along, do your best, the best you can to, again, not stretch one layer farther than the other, but kind of keep them both as taut as you can. And you want to line up the edges of the creases, basically, so that one doesn't kind of shift over the other and you get this weird smushy looking thing. That's a technical term, I promise.